I try not to walk in with an idea of my own to inject into, try to force Steve into doing something. I try to wait and see what he's thinking, and then I can react to that.
Ultimately, the day came when we had I had this pitch Bible. I had all the characters at least thought out and some storylines, and it was time to pitch the show.
And he had on his Hawaiian shirt. He had this whole underwater terrarium with little models of the characters. He had artwork. He had Hawaiian music playing.
Also, had recorded a version of the theme song just with me singing into a tape recorder, and I implanted it into the shell so that when you lift it up, it plays the theme song.
It was pretty amazing. I'd say one of the cardinal rules when you're pitching is to just get people in the room to laugh, get their attention, get them excited.
I guess I was just trying to do anything to make them think, this is weird, and let's take another meeting.
I think one of the most amazing things about his initial pitch, after all of the funny stuff, he had character descriptions and an overview of the world that it was so complete. He knew who his characters were. It was amazing. And if you look back now, these years later, it's all there in the original documents.
I loved the idea that he was a marine biologist in a former life, you know, that he studied marine biology. That was a big thing because it was like, well, who's going to know this world better than somebody that's actually interested in this world?
I was like, let's just do it. I don't know what this sponge is, but let's do it.
They decided to give us money to write a storyboard, and you know, let's see what happens with this.
So we had 2 weeks to write the pilot episode.
And I came into the room, and there up on the wall was these extraordinary storyboards everywhere. And Steve and his team were there, and they put on a performance which I wish I had on tape.
He started to pitch the show, and it was like, oh my God, this guy is good. You know, he is funny. He was doing all the voices. He was doing the sound effects.
They were laughing. You know, it went really well. And so it was stressful because we knew that was the decision.
He acted out every character. He made voices, and the other people came in and chimed in with their voices, and he pointed to the boards, and the kineticism of the boards itself, even in the action sequences where he goes, it bounces off here and off here and off here and bounces there, and he goes here and he goes there and he slaps there, and every sound, you could almost hear every sound effect.
So me and Steve and Nick were waiting in the room, and they just walked out, and it was like 5 minutes, you know, and we were worried. We thought it would take weeks.
The only reason after the pilot pitch that we took a few minutes to step outside is that we were exhausted from laughing, and we really just had to calm down and figure out the right way to, you know, to just tell him to go ahead, because we wanted to have some modicum of control of the process.
The door opened and Albie walked in. He's like, "Okay, it was great. Let's do it."
So after we finished the pilot, they aired it to several people, and Nickelodeon and test groups. So we got a green light to do 13 episodes. That's when the real work began, and that is to find a team to make this show. We put together slowly what I think was an incredible team. A lot of them were really young and new to this type of writing, and had great, fresh ideas. And so I attribute much of the success to SpongeBob to that collaboration.
We really used animation to its fullest extent. You know, a lot of people aren't doing that these days. They're trying to keep it, you know, reality-based. This was a cartoon show.
There's a time and a place for a script-driven show. There's a time and a place for an artist-driven show, and I think SpongeBob works best because it's a cartoonist-driven show.
And we got to do a lot of cartoon gags. exploited animation as much as possible.
I hated pitching. It was, so it was an extra effort to I have to draw and pitch.
I wouldn't let that thing in my house, even if it was potty trained. You sit on a potty.
And we'd have to pitch to, the 40 people in the crew. Before that, it would be, a sleepless night, just tossing and turning because I have a fear of crowds. But what would happen is the next morning I would, tons of sugar, lots of espresso, extra sugar in my Coca-Cola, run around the block, and then get in there and just try to pitch and try not to look at all the faces, and we just go through it. And hopefully you get the laughs and they don't pick up on how nervous you are.
The cut line, he turns it again, and Patrick falls off. Turns it again, turns it upside down, again. Finally, it strikes it up, and here's...
SpongeBob was really fun for, like I said, the very reason that we could come up with a lot of gags in post-production.
We did a lot of Frankensteining on the show. We did a lot of cannibalizing from different takes to come up with a line just so it sounded, exactly the way they wanted it to.
It was fun because it was sort of guerrilla animation, so we could just do things on the fly and add them in at the last minute if they were appropriate and, made the show funnier.
Scuba diving is one of my favorite things to do. I could take my experiences underwater and, think about the different sea life and, use those things as color references.
I was snorkeling or scuba diving on vacations in locations where this kind of plant life existed in the ocean. I appreciated it so much more than in the past. I was going, oh, hey, I draw that thing. There's that thing, and that's the way it really looks down here.
Aaron Springer is a cartoon genius. And the hardest thing about working with Aaron is that he has about 20,000 ideas for every one idea that I have.
Sherm hated when I used Sharpies because it would give him a headache. So, but I think he secretly liked it.
Life in a cubicle. It's sad. You think it's easy, don't you? Sit down, have a bagel maybe, some coffee, draw a few pictures, la 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 la. No, it's not that simple. But it was kind of fun because you have a lot of interaction with people around you. But the problem with that is when you want to get something done and you're trying to concentrate, it just doesn't happen.
Those sheets.
Personally, first season is my favorite season of all of them. I think that, we were just hitting our stride, and you can see a lot more, I think, of the styles of the individual directors in the first season shows.
I feel like personally SpongeBob and Patrick are my children, and every day I'd come to work and I'd have to dress them, just like I would my kid in the morning. And that's just, my favorite shows that I've ever worked on have been like that.
You have a staff that's really there and on it 100%, and they're happy to be there. They feel like they're all contributing to this great, nucleus.
The people on it were so much fun, and they brought together so much. They brought together talent and a great sense of humor.
SpongeBob was just one of those shows where the right elements and the right people were at the right place at the right time.
Everybody bonded really well, everyone got along great, and we were kind of like one big happy family.
Those were good times. Good times.
I can't take off my pants. Look, it's the haunted mattress.
It's a gift from a friend.
SpongeBob, I was so worried, I thought something terrible had happened.
You must think I'm pretty dumb, huh?
Nothing personal, lad. That's it. I'm moving out of this neighborhood.
Take 2, 6, 7, 7, 9.
Maybe it's the way you're dressed.
I'm not crying, I'm laughing.
As far as casting goes, my approach was first have an idea in my head for each character before going to a casting director who would find some potential people for that role. So we basically found these people that sounded, I guess, like the voice that I crudely could do for the characters.
We really spent a lot of time and a lot of sessions just figuring out what his laugh would be, how he would sing, how he would cry. Steve spent a lot of time dialing SpongeBob in.
I remember Tom, he was looking in the mirror and looking at himself, and he said something like, oh, what's a sponge with square pants and a tie, thinking that I could get a job at a fast food restaurant.
One crying Johnny coming up.
I thought about that name SquarePants, and I thought it was really funny. It describes what SpongeBob is literally, but also I think it's his character. He's a starchy little square guy, well-meaning, clean-cut little nerd.
We knew that we wanted SpongeBob to be a character of indeterminate age, much like Jerry Lewis, or physically very, very rubbery and insane, you know, kind of a man-child, but you can't really pin it down. He goes to school like a kid, but he has a job like a grown-up.
Hall monitor SpongeBob reporting for duty, ma'am. I'm ready to assume my position in the hall.
You know, the character that Jerry Lewis played in those movies was very SpongeBob-ish in that his enthusiasm and desire to help people would often start a snowball rolling down the hill.
Broken traffic light. Who's to say my monitor duties should end just because the bell rang? I can be helpful anywhere. This looks like a job for the hall monitor. What would this town do without you, SpongeBob?
Oh, my leg!
The range where he was going to be, we knew that we wanted something really cartoony, but also munchkin-y. I remember thinking of the Munchkins, follow the Yellow Brick Road,
as kind of a template. And then we kind of fine-tuned it from there so that it wasn't just a squeaky voice, so that there were highs and lows, and there was a thing that he did where he was trying to be cool and, hey, baby, you know, and then when he was scared, his voice would go up higher, and...
SpongeBob is this kind of squeaky clean, small, impish character. And so I was looking for that sort of voice.
There actually is a cassette tape that exists of me doing SpongeBob and Steve Hillenburg doing Squidward. And that was the first time that we ever spoke on tape as those characters.
Hundreds of creatures swim through these doors every day in our undersea community, depending on you to serve them nutritious, delicious, reasonably priced food in a clean, family-friendly environment.
Look, I've been standing around on my tentacles since 8 o'clock this morning, and I don't have the strength to listen to this.
Who depends on you, you may ask? Well, let's just start with the A's.
No.
Aaron Anchovy, LB Albacore.
Rocks. He's got a good heart. He just covers it with this curmudgeon shell.
I knew it.
SpongeBob.
You do care.
No, I don't. I do not. That was just a cover. I don't. Yes. You actually care for that thing? Squidward has this big honking nose, and he's a bit of a malcontent. And so I just put everything up in the nose and gave him the oh, please attitude, and, well, there it was.
But home isn't about barbecues and pecan pies. Home is where you're surrounded by other critters that care about you. I was trying to think of a role model of somebody who was smart and from that part of our country, and the person that came to mind was Holly Hunter. And I don't actually know where she's from, but that sound, you know? So you'll stay? I'm staying. Welcome home, Sandy.
Hey! Who needs dumb old Texas anyway?
What did you say?
Patrick is so he's very, very low in bass and not very quick.
Plankton's voice I read for as SpongeBob. So I actually did all the lines SpongeBob had in the pilot, but with Plankton's voice. And so he was saying stuff like,
I'm ready. Hey, Gary, it's a beautiful day.
Have you seen this man? Yeah.
We usually have a great time during the records, which I think has a big influence on what you actually grab out of that. I think everybody really was suited.
We always have the opportunity out there to do as best we can. And as an actor, we all appreciate that from Steve.
They're all just really great people to be with and people that I'm learning from all the time. I mean, astounded by some of the voiceover artists that come in there. It's like, I just need to step down because these are the masters.
It sounds stupid to talk about cartoons this way, but you know, really, Tom and Bill and Carolyn and Rodger as Squidward, for sure, they're not really in the room. The real people aren't really in the room for a few hours. It's Bikini Bottom, you know, very much like channeling. It's a very Shirley MacLaine kind of a thing, where for 4 hours, you're this sponge.